For my personal project, I decided to build a retrieval augmented generation system using the Preach My Gospel document as my source data. And the rack system basically comprises of three parts, and which is the injection, the indexing, and the response synthesis. So here I have on my screen, let me quickly share that. Okay. Yeah, I have on my screen the basic step to creating a rack system where we have our source document divided into chunks, and each chunk is put into a vector database, and each time there's a query, those chunks are retrieved and then sent to the LLM for synthesis. So first, I created a simple project setup where I used Poetry to initiate a virtual environment, install the necessary dependencies, and initiated flags for my front end. And like I said before, I used Llama Index to create the basic rack system, the baseline. And so what I simply did was to load those documents and created the index, and then stored those vectors and had it stored somewhere for synthesis whenever it's needed. So here are links to my live demo, the plot URL, and then the GitHub repo. But for today's presentation, I'll be using the GitHub to quickly do that. And so first, I start creating the baseline. I needed to know where to improve the make improvements. And so I needed to create an evaluation. And in needing to do so, we needed a data set, a labeled data set. And so I was able to create that using a tool which is integrated with Llama Index called Ragas. So Ragas, simply with their question generation machine, was able to create a set of questions, answers, and the context labeled sets, data sets, where each of those questions were distributed simply multi-context and had 34% reasoning questions. And so I prepared those labeled data sets by filtering out some of these questions that basically did not have ground truth or context. And then I was able to, hold on. I was able to generate questions that were going to be important to my evaluation. So in other words, I had these questions that basically did not have an answer by the LLM. I had it, all of them filtered out, okay? And so out of the 250 questions that I generated initially, I ended up with about 188 questions, which were to be used for my evaluation. So I had here my baseline evaluated, and basically I was able to use the RAG triad that has to do with context relevancy, answer relevancy, and groundedness to evaluate the baseline. And so I was able also to use TrueLens to record each evaluation as it was being done. So I took a sample of my question data set and ran it through the query engine and was able to retrieve for each question context relevance, answer relevance, and groundedness. And finally, I was able to calculate the mean score for all of them. And I'll just scroll right down to show you so that the baseline had a context relevance of 85%, answer relevance 98%, and groundedness 93%, with a total cost of 0.001156. I thought about ways to improve this baseline, and I thought, okay, probably we could improve the context relevance, which is basically the retrieved contents. And so I was able to think of ways to improve that, and I worked to using the auto-merging retrieval technique to run my documents, my data, and then see how best that context relevance could be improved. And as usual, I ran my evaluation through the context relevance, answer relevance, and groundedness with TrueLens to record each of those evaluations. So quickly, let me show you how that auto-merging retrieval works. It actually has to do with loading up your documents and then putting them into nodes. then storing the leaf nodes to the vectors, whereby whenever you send a query, those nodes are being retrieved and then they are automatically merged to the parent node and then sent to the LLM for response sentences. And so after setting up that auto-merging retrieval engine, I went forth to evaluate. And here, after running a series of evaluation on the sample data sets, I was able to retrieve a final result of, we had the context relevance reduced to a 69% or 70% approximately, with the answer relevance at a 100% and the groundedness at 91%. But if you notice, the total cost for all of this process actually reduced significantly from 1,001, should I call it cents now, to 0.000195 cents. So possibly, if you were looking to reduce cost with your rack system, you definitely want to look at the auto merging retrieval. But with my context relevance, I was still not satisfied with it because at the baseline, we had 85%. So I did some playing around with the hyperparameters, and I was able to do another evaluation after playing around with some hyperparameters, and then I improved the context relevance was improved to 78% with the groundedness at 89 and the answer relevance to 91%, and the cost still at a very low cost. Now, because of time, I will just go forward to the last evaluation I did, which seemed to have improved the context relevance, the groundedness, the answer relevance, and as well the total cost, even when compared with the baseline. And so I was able to ingest this into my final system to say I had the advanced retrieval.py file here, which takes all of those auto-merging retrieval and the vector index and everything. And I had them placed here in the app, in the main.py file. And then I loaded that up with flags, and I was able to produce this final output for the Preach My Gospel companion rack system. And so before now, I had asked it some questions from the label data sets, some of the samples that were not used in the initial evaluation. And here we had write out 5 scriptures that teach about faith. And so we had each of those scriptures, both from the Book of Mormon and the Bible as well. And so just to test this final result, what I would simply ask this question. So what is one way I can better learn my mission language? This is basically a question from the Preach My Gospel. And so after hitting search, we should see an output. Okay, so here we have the response. Says one effective way to better learn your mission language is to set a goal to speak the language with your companion as much as possible throughout the day. This practice will provide you with regular opportunities to use the language in conversation, helping to reinforce your learning and improve your fluency. Now, if we were to compare this with a human response, I could say that this is factually very correct because I also went into the hard copy of the Preach My Gospel manual, and basically this is the summary output from reading the document from the raw data. So this is basically my personal project, and if there are any questions, I'd love to answer them.